I seek refuge in Allah from Shaitan, the wretched one. Bismillahir Rahmanir Raheem. I begin in the name of the Compassionate, the Most Merciful. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu qul li azwajika wa banatika wa nisa'il mu'minina yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna. O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers that they should draw down their jilbab, their long covering, their shawls over them. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَن يُعْرَفْنَا. That will make it more likely that they are recognized. فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. Hence, they are not teased. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. And Allah is most forgiving, very merciful. This is the ayat number 59 of Surah Al-Ahzab. If we just go back 3 ayats, or maybe 6 ayats to ayat number 53, the long ayat in the previous page, Allah says, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu la tadkhulu buyutan nabiyyi illa an yu'zana lakum ila ta'amin ghayra nazirina inahu. O you who believe, do not enter the houses of the Prophet unless you are permitted for a meal, not so early as to wait for his preparation, but when you are invited, go inside. وَلَكِنْ إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ فَادْخُلُوا فَإِذَا طَعِمْتُمْ فَانْتَشِرُوا. Then once you have had the meal, just disperse. وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ لِحَدِيثٍ. And do not sit for long, being keen for a chat, for a talk. إِنَّ ذَلِكُمْ كَانَ يُؤْذِي النَّبِيَّ فَيَسْتَحْيِي مِنْكُمْ. This conduct of yours hurt the Prophet, but he felt shy of telling you about it. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ. But Allah is not shy of telling the truth. وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. And when you ask anything from them, meaning the blessed wives of the Prophet, ask them from behind a curtain. فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. ذَلِكُمْ أَطْهَرُ لِقُلُوبِكُمْ وَقُلُوبِهِنَّ. That is better for the purity of your hearts and their hearts. وَمَا كَانَ لَكُمْ أَن تُؤْذُوا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And it is not allowed for you that you hurt Allah's messenger. وَلَا أَن تَنْكِحُوا أَزْوَاجَهُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ أَبَدًا إِنَّ ذَلِكُمْ كَانَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمًا. And nor that you ever marry his wives after him. Indeed, it would be an enormity in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today's topic, as mentioned by our respected Ghaznavi Sahib, is Hijab. Hijab, its history, its importance, and its benefits, and the harms of not observing Hijab. The opposite of Hijab is nakedness, nudity. So what are the harms of nudity and nakedness? These topics we need to cover in the short time we have today. First of all, with regards to hijab, burqa, covering, there are a few words here: hijab, khimar, niqab, jilbab. They all mean covering the body. Niqab is used especially for the covering of the face, and hijab is normally used for covering from head to toe. Now, with regards to hijab and covering the body for a Muslimah, a lady, a woman, people say that there is nothing in the Quran which says that a woman should wear hijab and cover her body. But over here, it is written that in the Quran there are 7 ayat regarding hijab. 3 in Surah Al-Ahzab and 4 in Surah An-Nur. And among the ahadith, there are nearly 70 ahadith which concern the matters regarding hijab. With regards to hijab, the first verses to be revealed were these which I have just recited and translated to you. The verses of Surah An-Nur were revealed after these verses. These came first and they came later on. So when we have understood this, that the hijab is an order of the Quran, is mentioned in the ahadith, now it becomes easy for us to understand that they are instructions of Allah and His Rasul, both of them. Allah and His Rasul, they have recommended, they have required hijab for a Muslim woman, and that is why we as Muslims believe and follow the command, or try to follow the command and order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, moving on to the history of hijab. How did hijab's order come into being? We look at the time before Islam, the time of Jahiliyyah, the pre-Islamic era. And we see that in that era there is no laws or rulings regarding covering of the body for male or for female. And they regarded this covering as optional. If you want to cover your body, cover. If you want to stay nude, you can stay nude. There were people, not from among the people of Makkah, Quraysh, but from the surrounding villages, who would come to Makkah Mukarramah for Hajj or for Umrah. When they arrive here and they enter the Haram, the sanctuary, and they look at the Kaaba, they take their clothes off, drop their upper shawl, loosen their lower garment, and leave it behind, and proceed to the Baytullah naked and perform tawaf of the house of Allah in a naked manner. They would say that these clothes are such that we have sinned, we have disobeyed Allah in these clothes. Then how can we perform the circumambulation of Ka'batullah with these clothes? That's why we should take them off. The men would do this during the day, and the women would do this during the night. Abu Zar Ghifari radiallahu anhu, one of the earlier converts, mentions that I arrived at Makkah Mukarramah in search of the new prophet. However, I was scared to ask anybody about his whereabouts. I stayed in Haram Sharif for a few days, waiting to get a chance or asking someone for his whereabouts. One night I was in Haram Sharif, I was alone, and two ladies came. They were naked. The moon was shining, full moon, everything was visible. They came and they started circumambulating the tawaf in the naked manner. And he made some gesture and remark, and they started murmuring things. On the second round, he said something else in order to irritate them, and they did. And they said, you know that idol of yours, the idol is also naked. One is male, one is female, why don't you marry them both together? And they said, what is this man saying? He's talking bad about our idols. And then they just finished their tawaf and left Makkah Mukarramah. One of the ladies, it is narrated in Muslim that a lady named Duba'a bint Zubair ibn Abdul Muttalib, not Duba'a, another lady, during the pre-Islamic era. This lady, she came, she took off her clothes, and she said, اليوم يبدو كله أو بعضه فما بدا منه فلا أحله. Today, either part of my body will be revealed, or all of it will be revealed. And whatever I reveal, I do not make it lawful for anybody to stare at. I am doing my job, my duty, tawaf naked, but nobody is allowed to look at me. This is how they used to think, that there is no harm in going around the house of Allah naked. Even the men folk, there were no rules regarding them. There is the hadith narrated that before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's prophethood, 5 years before becoming prophet, when he was the age of 35 or under that, the construction of Kaaba was taking place. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was helping in the construction, and he had an izar, lungi round his waist, and he was carrying a heavy stone on his shoulders. His uncle Abbas and he were both together, and they were bringing the stone from Jabalul Kaaba. So Abbas said, dear nephew, by carrying that heavy stone on your shoulder, you are getting bruised. Why don't you take your izar off and wrap it up, put it on there, and then put the stone on there, so your shoulder does not get injured. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam listened to his uncle. He did so, but as soon as he took his izar off to put it on there, he fell to the ground, and he immediately covered up his satar, and he said, I saw someone in a white complex standing before me, and he's saying that don't do this, you must not be doing this. And that was the angel from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to preserve his modesty. Even on this one instance, when Abbas told him to do something which was not right, he did it, he was immediately corrected and rectified. So the society was such that nakedness and nudity was not thought to be anything big, anything major. It was thought to be the norm of the society. Now when we see that Islam comes, first of all, Islam instructs modesty, haya, sharm, bashfulness. Among the first surahs to be revealed is Suratul A'raf. It was revealed in Makkah Mukarramah. And it was among the earliest surahs, maybe in the year 4th, 5th, 6th after Nubuwwat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off the surah by mentioning this Quran is a book of Allah. Alif Lam Mim Sad Kitabun Unzila Ilayka Fala yakun fi sadrika harajun minhu litunzira bihi wa dhikra lil mu'minin. Allah says, Ittabi'u ma unzila ilaykum min rabbikum. Follow this Quran. Then Allah moves on to mention the creation of Adam alayhi salam. Then after a while he mentions other prophets, Nuh alayhi salam and other prophets. While mentioning the story of Adam alayhi salam, Allah says in the third ruku of Suratul A'raf, Ya bani Adam, qad anzalna alaykum libasan yuwari sawatikum wa risha wa libasu taqwa dhalika khayr. O children of Adam, we have sent down for you libas, clothing which covers your private parts and which makes your body look good and beautiful. And the libas and covering of taqwa is more fitting, is better for you. ذَلِكَ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ يَا بَنِي آدَمَ لَا يَفْتِنَنَّكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ. O children of Adam, do not let shaitan trap you and deceive you. كَمَا أَخْرَجَ أَبَوَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. Just as he drove out your parents from Jannah. يَنْزِعُ عَنْهُمَا لِبَاسَهُمَا. He snatched away from them their covering and their libas. Referring to when Adam alayhi salam ate the fruit, the covering clothing of Jannah disappeared and he became naked, and he had to cover himself with the leaves of the trees of Jannah, and he said, Oh Allah, please, please, please forgive me, I made a mistake. فَتَفِقَا يَقْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ. That the leaves they took and covered their body. So Allah said, يَنْزِعُ عَنْهُمَا لِبَاسَهُمَا لِيُرِيَهُمَا سَوْآتِهِمَا, so that he may show to them their private parts. إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. Shaitan can see you, also his agents and his armies can see you in such a way that you cannot see them. إِنَّهُمْ اتَّخَذُوا الشَّيَاطِينَ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ وَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Allah said, Ya bani Adam, Allah said, وَإِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً قَالُوا وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهَا آبَانَا. When they commit an indecency, they say that we have found our forefathers doing this, that's why we are doing it. This nudity and nakedness during tawaf, our fathers used to do it, that's why we are doing it. قُلْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَأْمُرُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. Tell them, Allah never instructs to do such indecencies. Allah moved on to say, Ya bani Adam, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. O Bani Adam, whenever you come to a masjid for prayer, then take your beautiful clothes with you, cover your body with those beautiful clothes. Allah mentions these. These are among the first instructions given regarding covering of the body. Now, from the Muslims, they were small in numbers. Maybe in the year 5th or 6th after Nubuwwat, only 40 people had accepted Islam. But alhamdulillah, they were strong, they were firm, and they progressed and they moved on. Slowly, as they migrated to Medina Munawwara, time moves on. It is then in the year 3rd after Hijrah or year 5th after Hijrah this order comes with regards to hijab. Before this, we see that Allah had instructed regarding libas, Allah had given instruction regarding haya and modesty. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had told them, al-haya'u min al-iman. Haya is part of iman. He had told them haya and iman are connected together. If one goes, the other goes too. So he gave these instructions. He said to them, istahyu min Allahi haqq al-haya. Be ashamed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have haya as you should have, and as he is the right of Allah to have haya. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said these instructions to them. He said, ihfaz awratak illa min zawjatik aw ma malakat yaminu. Guard and your private parts except from your wife or what your right hands possess. He also said, someone whose thigh was open and he was carrying some heavy stone. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا تبرز فخذك. That al-fakhiz awratun. That the thigh is also part of satr. He said to Ali, Ya Ali, لا تبرز فخذك ولا تنظر إلى فخذ حي ولا ميت. O Ali, never reveal your thighs and do not look at the thigh of a living person or a dead person. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given these instructions to menfolk. With regards to ladies, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a man's libas and his izar should be up to his half of his shin. And if he wants to lower it down, he can go down up to the ankles. But below the ankles, there is no part of the lungi or pajama or trousers for ankles in the pajamas. Then he said, Salama asked, Ya Rasulullah, what about ladies? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, well, with regards to ladies, they can go one or half cubic down from one handspan down from the half of the shin. So she said, Ya Rasulullah, then in that case, their feet will open up when they walk. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, in that case, they can lower it down up to one arm's length, but not more than that. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed that the legs should also be covered when the ladies are walking in and out, when this hijab's order comes. Now, how did the hijab's order come? Ladies used to perform hijab, meaning they used to cover their bodies. They never used to go out naked or in a manner of the pre-Jahiliyyah era. They were modest. They used to dress modestly. But in spite of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this command of hijab in these ayat. One of the hadiths mentions that Sayyiduna Amirul Mu'mineen Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu said, Ya Rasulullah, uhjub nisa'aka, فَإِنَّهُ يَدْخُلُ عَلَيْهِنَّ الْبَرُّ وَالْفَاجِرُ. Ya Rasulullah, I think you should bring your wives into hijab and covering, because people come in your house, some of them might be virtuous, good, others might not be good, they might be vile, wicked. So you should keep your wives behind a curtain and covering. He gave this mashwara to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there were many instances in which Umar gave a mashwara and Allah revealed the same ayat with regards to what he had said. In this case as well, Umar gave this instruction, this mashwara to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayat. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu qul li azwajika wa banatika wa nisa'il mu'minin yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihin dhalika adna an yu'rafna fala yu'dain wa kana Allahu ghafurar rahima. Allah said, tell your wives, your daughters and the believing women that they should lower their jilbab and shawls over them. This is more closer, and this will be more likely that they are recognized and not hurt. Now there are two tafseers with regards to this an yu'rafna. One is an yu'rafna, that they will be recognized as chaste, free, good holding of good characters. Virtuous. So virtuous, pious. So nobody attempts to ill-treat or hurt or abuse a good lady, a pious lady, a virtuous lady. So people will know that this lady is going in hijab, she is virtuous, she is pious, and we must not hurt her. A second tafsir is Allah yu'rafna, that la is mahzuf over here, that this is more likely that they will not be recognized and then they will not be hurt. Because you attempt to abuse someone when you know her, when you recognize her, that she is going. Then you make, you blow whistle at her, and then you make silly remarks to her. But when you don't know who is going, then you won't hurt her, you won't abuse her. What do you know? She could be Umar's wife, and Umar will be on my back if I say something rude to her. So this is the second tafsir. Allah la yu'rafna fala yu'zayna wa kana Allahu ghafuran rahima. Allah revealed this ayat. Now, after this ayat is revealed, Sauda radiallahu anha comes and she says, Ya Rasulullah, I was going out for my istinja, for relieving myself, my need, because there were no toilets in the households at that time, and for their relieving themselves, they had to go out, and they used to go out from night to night. 2, 3, 4 ladies go together, relieve themselves, and then they return. So Sauda was going to relieve herself. Umar saw her, and he said, Ya Sauda, ala ya Sauda qad arafnaki. Oh Sauda, I know who you are. Because Sauda was tall and she was built. So Umar said, I have recognized you, O Sauda. So Sauda immediately returned and said, Ya Rasulullah, I was going. She said, I was going, and Umar made this remark to me. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept quiet for a while, and then he said, قَدْ أُذِنَ لَكُنَّ أَن تَخْرُجْنَ لِلْحَاجَةِ, or whatever the words he used, that permission has been given for you to go out for your needs. So you can go for your needs. There is no harm in there. So this is how the order of hijab came into being. And when this ayat is revealed, tell me what was the practice of the ladies of that time, the Sahabiyat. Musannaf Abdul Razzaq narrates, and Imam Abu Dawood in his Sunan also narrate from Salama radiallahu anha, that when this ayat was revealed, Ibn Abi Hatim narrated that يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ خَرَجَ نِسَاءُ الْأَنصَارِ كَأَنَّ عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِنَّ الْغِرْبَانُ مِنَ السَّكِينَةِ وَعَلَيْهِنَّ أَكْيِسَةُ صُوفٍ يَلْبَسْنَهَا. Ladies went out for their needs with clothing from their heads to covering their bodies, and they went out with sukoon, sakina, peace and tranquility, and the chadar and the shawls were covering their whole bodies which they were wearing. Now this shows that they were covering themselves from head to toes, and only a place for one eye, not even two eyes, was visible. This was the practice of Sahabiyat. Some people, this morning I was looking at regarding with hijab on Wikipedia, and there are many misconceptions, misquotes on there, and one of them is that it says there that this order was for the wives of the Prophet only, and no one except the wives of the Prophet observed hijab. Now this is on Wikipedia, you can see for yourself. Now this statement is wrong. The Sahabiya, this hadith of Ibn Abi Hatim, Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, Imam Abu Dawud is saying that all the ladies, they observed hijab when this ayat was revealed upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the first ayat to be revealed with regards to hijab. The ayat also revealed is وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. That is also among the first ayat to be revealed, and there is some shan nuzul with regards to that, narrated from Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Zainab radiallahu anha. He made a big feast and walima for her upon her marriage, and he invited many people from around Medina. And people used to come eat and go, come eat and go. But some Sahabas came, they ate in the house and they sat down and they got busy into real nice chat and gossip conversation. And they got so busy they forgot, they didn't realize what they're doing. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there. Zainab radiallahu anha was sitting in one corner of the house, and she was facing towards the wall, and she was facing on the other side. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was here. He could not tell the Sahaba to go out because it was his house, and he could not take it, so he stood up and he went outside. He went to Aisha radiallahu anha's house and then he returned, but they were still there. So he went out again and he returned. And the third time they realized that, oh, we made a mistake, and they stood up and went away. So Allah revealed this ayat that you should not go into the house of the Prophet unless you are invited, and don't go early and don't sit after the food, and when you want something from the wives, then ask from them from behind the curtain. So, min wara'i hijab is the ayat being from behind curtains, and after that, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, along with other ladies, also observed the hijab to their full. And hijab was throughout the Muslim custom. And there are many, many ayat and ahadith with regards to the hijab mentioned over here. I have some books over here which I would like to just show you if you want to understand the masla of hijab. This is a book of Dr. Ismail Mayman. It's titled Hijab. The dalails are given in there. This is another book named Islamic Parda. It's written by Professor Abdul Hamid, who is translator of Mishkat Sharif. This is another book by Hazrat Qari Muhammad Tayyib Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi, Shar'i Parda. Raise Not the Hijab, another book. Many nice dalails are given in here as well. Hijab, the importance of Parda. This was written by the ladies of our sister college, Jamiatul Imam Muhammad Zakaria Rahmatullah Alayhi in Radford. Aurat Quran Ki Nazar Mein, Shamima Muhsin. This is written by a lady. She has mentioned some real nice facts regarding ladies and how Islam treats the ladies. She mentions over here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has rights over men and women, both of them. And He has promised men and women, both of them, with equal reward. Allah said, "Man amila salihan min dhakarin aw untha wa huwa mu'min, falanuhyiyannahu hayatan tayyiba." Whosoever works righteous deeds, whether male or female, we will give them a pleasurable life. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنثَى. I do not abandon or let go to waste the works of anyone who works good deeds, whether he is male or female. So, she mentioned these, and then she goes on to hijab, and she mentioned some real nice ahadith with regards to hijab in them. This is another book, Islam, The Choice of Thinking Women. It's been written by Ismail Adam Patel. If you can get hold of it, it's available in Leicester, and it's also available from Taha Publishers in London. So these are some nice books. This is just an Arabic book, Fara'idul Qisas, and there are some stories in there about ladies wearing hijab, or maybe some other very alarming, not just regarding hijab, other aspects as well. Mentions over this Arab lady, they mentioned in there, this Arab lady who wears hijab in her own country because of the instructions of her parents, but she doesn't like hijab. So she travels outside the country to Canada, and when she gets on the plane, as soon as she gets there on the plane, she immediately takes off her hijab and opens up her hair, her face, starts her makeup, and when she arrives in Canada, she gets down on the Toronto airport, and what does she see when she is going? There is a lady and walking with full hijab. Now when she sees her and she looks at herself, she feels ashamed that this is a Muslimah in this country who is observing hijab, and I am coming from a Muslim country and I have taken my hijab off. And she realizes her mistake and she repents, she does tawbah. She goes out. When she goes out, she sees many ladies observing hijab. Then she realizes that even in this Western country, there are ladies doing hijab. I should be doing it, not just because my father has told me, but because I should do it. And she realizes. So, these are some books you can refer to with regards to masail of hijab. Once this Tablighi Jamaat went to Bhopal, and among them was a new Muslimah from New York, USA. So in Bhopal, the people there are learned, they know English. So an announcement was made that a lady from New York has come, and she will be giving a talk in so and so place. So all the ladies gathered when they heard that someone from New York, and she's a Muslim, she's going to give talk. Now when she arrives, the ladies in Bhopal, they have come with heavy makeup, and this lady who was in Tabligh comes with hijab. And when they see her, they are shocked. And then she gives her speech, and she explains that Allah's order is for everyone, wherever you are, whether you are in India or in Pakistan or Bangladesh or USA or Europe or America, wherever you are, Allah is Allah, Allah's command is Allah's command, and we have to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these type of stories mentioned in these books. Moving on, let me just mention that hijab is not just in Islam. Hijab is also in other religions as well. I was going through Wikipedia this morning, and I got this quote. Someone asked, does the Bible state that Christian women should wear the hijab or not? And the quote is given here from the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter number 11, verse number 3 to 6. Says, if a woman does not cover her head, she should have her hair cut off. And if it is a disgrace for her, for a woman to have her hair cut or shaved off, then she should cover her head. This is the verse from Bible that if she should cover her head. If she doesn't want to, she should shave her head off. This is, I'm not saying this quote, chapter number 11, verse 3 to 6 from the Corinthians. Or it was also, that the writer says in there, quite interesting to hear that Virgin Mary never used to show her hair either, and she used to cover up. So this is not tradition, this is religion. In another place, this quote is given. In the Bible, Matthew, chapter number 5, verse number 28, it says, but I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So it's saying that if you look at a woman with a lust, then you have already committed adultery with her in your heart. This shows that women should also cover themselves so people's eyes cannot commit adultery with them. This was ordered before as well, and just as we have mentioned, Virgin Mary used to wear these types of clothes. Even in the nuns, they also wear this type of clothes. Nobody wants to go out in the town center wearing a bikini. I was reading this article in Spain, where it's a seaside resort. They have brought in a law that women, tourists cannot come in the city wearing the bikini. They have to cover themselves. Good. It's the first town in Spain to have such laws. They will be fined £250 if they come with their bikini without covering their body. So we all believe that we have to cover our ladies, have to cover themselves. The dispute is up to what length and up to where, how much does she have to cover. Now, some say up to this degree, some say up to other degree. Now, this is what we'll be talking about in the next talk. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With regards to moving on, how much we should cover, Islam says that a Muslimah should cover from head to toe, including her face. Now, we have to remember over here that the Qurani ayat which I mentioned, that is, somebody might go into the interpretation of this meaning, that meaning. We will take the view of the majority of the fuqaha. This is a real nice book, Hijab al-Mar'ati fil Islam. It mentions that among the ulama, Hanabila, Shafi'iyya say that covering the face is wajib upon a Muslimah. Wajib. Also, this is the opinion of mutaakhirin of fuqaha Hanafiyya and Malikiyya. Mutaakhirin, the later fuqaha. If you look at the later books of fiqh, they will all say it's wajib. Among the dalail which they give is the ayat which I mentioned. Number 2, Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu says, in tafsir of this ayat, يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ أَمَرَ اللَّهُ نِسَاءَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذَا خَرَجْنَ مِنْ بُيُوتِهِنَّ فِي حَاجَةٍ أَنْ يُغَطِّينَ وُجُوهَهُنَّ مِنْ فَوْقِ رُؤُوسِهِنَّ بِالْجَلَابِيبِ وَيُبْدِينَ عَيْنًا وَاحِدَةً. وقال محمد بن سيرين سألت عبيدة السلماني عن قول الله عز وجل يبدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن فغطى وجهه ورأسه وأبرز عينه اليسرى. I asked him the meaning of this tafsir, and Muhammad ibn Sirin covered his head and his face, only his eyes visible, and he says this is what يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ means. Salama says, when this I've related this hadith to you, Abu Bakr al-Jassas says that this ayat proves that a young lady is commanded to cover her face from ajnabis and strangers, and this is protective for her modesty and for her beauty as well, so that people who have wicked thoughts in their minds cannot have lalach and greed with regards to her. Number 3, in the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha in Qissatul Ifk, when she was slandered, Aisha radiallahu anha says, while I was alone, I lied down, I fell asleep. Safwan ibn Mu'attal al-Sulami summa Zakwani came, and فَأَصْبَحَ in the manzili, he approached and he approached that place where I was. He saw someone was sleeping. So he came close and he looked at me, and he recognized me because he had seen me before hijab. And he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I woke up and I immediately covered my face. فَخَمَّرْتُ وَجْهِي فَسَتَرْتُ وَجْهِي عَنْهُ بِجِلْبَابِي. So the word is over there, I immediately covered my face. Number 4, Asma bint Abi Bakr says that كُنَّا نُغَطِّي وُجُوهَنَا مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَكُنَّا نَمْتَشِطُ قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْإِحْرَامِ. We would cover our faces from strangers, men, and we would do our combing before we start the ihram. So during the ihram, we would not have to open our ordni or khimar in front of anyone. Number 5, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا تنتقب المرأة المحرمة ولا تلبس القفازين. A woman in ihram should not cover her face and she should not wear gloves. Now what did he say? In ihram. Because ihram is ibadat, like salat is ibadat. So in ihram, a woman is allowed to open her face. So without ihram, when you are not going for hajj or umrah, you are not in ihram, you are required to cover your face. Now, even then, a person is not allowed to look at the face of that lady. Aisha radiallahu anha says, when we were traveling for hajj and we had approached near, we would be alone and traveling on our camels. But when men would pass by, we would cover our faces with our jilbab. So when they pass away and there is nobody around, then we open our faces again and we travel. Moving on, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi is narrated over here that niqab and quffazain, gloves, they were ma'roof and they were used by ladies who were not in ihram. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, in ihram you have to avoid them. Number 6, Ibn Jarir mentioned over here in his tafsir that in the similar manner which I have just mentioned above. So these ayat and ahadith prove that sahabiyat rizwanullahi alayhim ajma'in used to observe hijab. Those who say that she is not required to cover her face, they put forward some hadith. One hadith of Asma radiallahu anha, that Asma bint Abi Bakr radiallahu anha once came to the house of Aisha, her sister. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there. She was wearing clothing which was a bit revealing, and the skin was revealing. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at her, and he was agitated. He was naraz, displeased, and he said, "Ya Asma, inna al-mar'ata idha balagat al-mahid la yasluhu an yura minha illa haza wa haza." That when a lady reaches menstruation, then it is not permitted that anything of her body should be visible except these two hands and her face. But this hadith over here in this book, it's written that the isnad of this hadith is not that strong. It's mursal, and there is kalam on that hadith. So first of all, the hadith in itself is not that strong as the hadith which we mentioned before. Secondly, even if that was there, maybe this is before the order of hijab coming. Because if the hijab's order had come, then Asma would not have been wearing that thin cloth. So there is possibility that this story of Asma was before the coming of hijab. Another argument they put forward is that during the time of Hajjatul Wada, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was riding on a camel, and Fadl ibn Abbas was behind him. A lady from Khas'amiyya, Banu Khas'am, came and she asked a masla with regards to performing Hajj on behalf of someone. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied to her. Now Fadl, who was a young man, he started looking at that lady. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned his head towards his face towards the other side, and sort of twisted it towards the other side. So Abbas radiallahu anhu, his father, Fadl's father said, Ya Rasulullah, you have twisted my son's neck. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, I saw a young man looking at a young woman and I was scared from shaitan. That's why I turned his face towards the other side. Now they say that the lady's face was visible. So the answer to that is, first of all, she was in ihram, and in ihram it's allowed. And secondly, when all of the ladies are observing hijab, if there are one or two or few, you can't take what you call proof and evidence from there. There must be some reason why. Maybe she was not well acquainted with hijab up to that time when everybody else is observing hijab. She was not very well acquainted to it, or there may be some other reason. However, this is the reply to some of the arguments which they put forward. Then we go on to majority of the fuqaha of the later on. They say, it's written over here that when we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith which I mentioned of lowering the izhar, Rasulullah says she can lower up to 1 arm's length. Why? So that her feet are not visible. Now you tell me, are the feet place of attraction or the face center of attraction? When Rasulullah said the feet should be covered, then why should the face not be covered? Yeah. The hair, definitely the hair has to be covered, but the face has to be covered as well, because the face is the place of attraction, and that is the most beautiful, most handsome part of a woman's body. That is why Islam says that she should cover her face, and these are the dalail from Quran, from Hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nur, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. And they should lower their garments on their bosoms. Now this includes everything from face to their bosoms, because in the Jahiliyyah they would sometimes tie something around their hair, but the neck would be visible, and also the chest would be visible. Sometimes go to lower cut as well. So Islam said that this would not be right, and you have to cover yourself from head to down. This is the Islamic view with regards to the hijab. When we look at this type of talk on the internet, I was going through it this morning, and I went on Wikipedia, but there are some false statements which I mentioned. But on BBC there is more better, it's more wider and more collective of the masla of hijab and niqab. On there they have stated some arguments against niqab, and something from someone called Shaykh Kutti. He's a senior lecturer at Islamic Institute of Toronto, Canada. He suggested that because Allah asked both men and women to lower their gaze, it suggests that their faces are visible, otherwise there would be no sense in it. Astaghfirullah. Now this person is just using his logic. He has no knowledge of the Qurani ayat, of the ahadith which we have put forward. Now this is just from there. Now you move on to the era of the Sahabiyat. You will see that hadith where Aisha radiallahu anha says ladies used to come for Fajr Salat, and they would be covered in their garments, and they would not be recognized as to who is going to their house. So from then on we see that the Sahabiyat, Tabi'iyat, they have always observed hijab, and this has been this routine throughout the Islamic world. But he says these words. Another place, Shaykh Mutawalli Darsh said that Niqab is sunnat, and giving da'wah and invitation to the non-Muslim is farz. So we have to disregard the sunnat for the farz. So he said that you ladies should not wear hijab. Another quote from Nuh Hamim Keller, who says that niqab should not be worn in the West because it can lead to harassment and it can act as a barrier to inviting people to Islam. So these people are saying something against the niqab and the hijab. However, majority of the fuqaha and muftiyan kiram say niqab is part of the hijab, and a lady has to cover herself, and it is her right, because we live in a free society. Every individual person has his right. Over here we have human rights, we have animal rights, and we have other rights. So why disabled people's rights and this right and that's right? So why cannot a lady have her right to cover herself if she wants to? Nobody is forcing her to wear that. If she wants to wear it, let her wear it. If she doesn't, there are plenty. Throughout the Britain, we see that maybe 2.5 million Muslims. From among them, at least 1 million or so women. And from among them, only maybe there was one estimate that in England, 100,000 ladies wear hijab or niqab, whatever they can call it. So there are 900,000 who are not wearing it, and we are not imposing the hijab on anyone. We are not saying to them, go and wear it. No, if you want to stay in that way, it's okay for you. You want to stay that way, okay, no problem. We are not going to force. This is a free society. Everybody has freedom of choice. That is why on the BBC website, with regards to hijab, the final words are, Niqab has a place in Islam, since the Prophet's wives were required to wear them. In today's context, many women attempt to emulate the best of women to bring themselves closer to God. Therefore, every woman has a freedom of choice. If she chooses to wear it, then we should allow her to wear it. And this is what we are saying. Now, when we have covered the topic of hijab and niqab, and from Quran and Hadith we have given the dalail, as I mentioned in the beginning, that the history of hijab, the importance of hijab, the benefits of hijab. The benefits of hijab is protecting the modesty, guarding herself, and preserving her body, her beauty for her own husband, and not showing off to and putting it on display for other people. Muhammad Ali, the boxer, he was once in his house, and his daughter came in clad in indecent clothes. So he looked at her and he was shocked. And he said to her, "What are you wearing? Come sit here." And he explained to her that, "Dear daughter, you know something? Woman is like a precious diamond, a jewel, a ruby. And you don't go around showing diamond to people, otherwise thieves will snatch it off you. So your body is as precious as that diamond, as that jewel. And you should cover it, you should conceal it. You should not reveal it and put it on display for the thieves out there to take it." Now comes the subject, जी
इनका औरत का नाम ही मस्तूरात कहते हैं ना,
मस्तूरात है, जी हाँ, बिल्कुल सतर छुपाने की चीज. Moving on to the harms of hijab, we can understand from this story that what is the opposite of hijab? The opposite of hijab is nudity, nakedness. And if we put this nakedness throughout the society, what will happen? We can see the consequences outside, within the society. When I was reading this book, there are stories in there from 1925, 1940, 1969, and how ladies were kidnapped from maybe cinemas, and how a young girl, 17-year-old girl, was raped, how nude photos were shown, and how this. But this is an old book, and these are the things that were happening as a result of not observing the hijab. And in today's day and age, this society, the society has gone so far that the biggest threat to our country, Britain, is, and through the whole world is, I would say that due to this nudity that is spreading throughout the globe. And there was a survey that what is the biggest threat to the country in this day and age, and the result was the breaking up of family life. Family life has broken up. And all families are in turmoil. There is no peace, no sukoon, no tranquility, the peace of mind, the peace of heart. A wife is always scared and she's always disturbed. Where is my husband? Why is he late? Why is he not back from work? He must be having an affair with someone. This has boggled up the mind, torn apart families, children and homeless people, and lonely parents looking after children. And this has gone within the society. All this is a result of these things which are taking place. Just looking at the pornography, what is taking place. There was this recent article in the Daily Mail some time ago. I was traveling to India, and this article was there, Poisoned by Porn. And the writer is Penny Marshall. It's in Daily Mail, March 6, 2010. She says, "It's a chilling trend. Teenage boys are watching hours of internet pornography every week. The result? They are treating their girlfriends like sex objects they see on the screen. statistics say, she is mentioned in this long article, that 1/4 of all search engines requests are porn related. 1/4 of all search engine requests are porn related, and 1.5% of all the websites in existence are pornography. Just type sex pictures into Google and it returns a staggering 83 million results in less than 1/10 of a second. This is what's happening out there, and this is all because of the nudity that is being promoted, and that is being promoted, and the result is this, and it's going to get worse. In fact, I would say that if we want to preserve our society, we have to bring in some laws. We have to go back to basics. Old is gold. We have to bring in laws where people should cover their bodies, and if they don't want to, then cover the whole body. At least there should be some laws that some parts from so and so should be covered. And Alhamdulillah, ladies, Muslim ladies wearing hijab, they should be allowed to wear their hijab and their niqab. And I would like to also say that wearing niqab is not easy. It's not easy. I know that the ladies, they are very strong, and they feel their duty towards God, their Creator. And they realize that I'm doing this for the sake of God, for the sake of pleasing Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will reward them for the sacrifices they go through. Allah does reward them. They have a very peaceful, pleasant life in their homes and with their husbands, with their children. The husband goes out, provides for them. If a lady wearing hijab and niqab wants to pursue a career, she is allowed to do that in Islam. And you go in universities, colleges, you will see ladies. I went to the University of Toronto some time ago, and I saw girls wearing the hijab, not niqab, hijab, coming to the prayer room, performing their prayer, doing their iftar, going back to their lessons. And there are ladies who are using niqab while they are studying. This lady, this young girl, was studying medicine, and she used to wear niqab. And the professor was very nice to her, and he said to her, no problem, you can wear your niqab. She was a very bright young girl. She studied. And when it was time for her to go on the ward rounds, the professor called her in and said, you are all right, you've been excellent in your results, everything, I'm happy. But now we have to go on ward rounds, and some patients might cringe at seeing you with that niqab, so you should consider your position. And she says, okay, I'll make mushwara and then consult my seniors and let you know. She consulted Maulana Mahmood Chandiya. He phoned me. And I said, let me think about it. Within the discussion and conversation, we come up with wearing that facial mask. That when she goes on way around, she can put the facial mask on. In that way, the patient will think that she is wearing a facial mask, and the face will be covered as well, and there is no harm in there. One of my friends works in Preston, in one of the government buildings. There was a fire alarm, and everybody was out. And two girls wearing niqab, they also rushed out. When everything was clear and everybody was allowed back in, their badges were being checked. Now the security guard who was checking their badges, when these two girls approach, the boss says, leave these two girls, I know them, you don't need to look at their face, let them in. I know them, so I know them carefully, properly. So, there are good people out there who like niqab and who say that there is no harm in there. If a lady wants to wear it, let her wear it. And there is no threat to the security. However, we will get people who will go and rob that jeweler shop. But they are wicked people. You get such thieves and robbers and wicked people in every society. So if someone does this, then that does not mean that we ban the niqab and the hijab, and we should let women wear what they want to wear. Just as we allow them nudity, we should allow them this as well, and it's their right. And this is a masla regarding the hijab. Quran Sharif says this, and as I mentioned while Dr. Sabut and I, there are 7 ayat in the Quran which mention hijab, and 70 ahadith which effect to somehow which mention the subject of hijab and covering the body. So we should hold on to that, and this is the Islamic concept with regards to hijab. ٹھیک ہے ڈاکٹر صاحب؟
یہ البانی کا جو فتویٰ ہے ریسنٹ، this has corrupted youngsters in this country.
ویری گڈ ڈاکٹر صاحب، جزاک اللہ، تھینک یو فار ریمائنڈنگ.
He takes that hadith of Thrash in the position of Umrah and Hajj, nothing to do.
صحیح ہے.
آپ جو سورہ احزاب اور سورہ نور کی جو آیتیں بتائیں واضح ہیں، تو
وہ بھی واضح ہیں، اور صحابیت کا عمل، the صحابیہ they used to do hijab, all of them.
پوسٹ گریجویٹ اسٹوڈنٹ کا آرٹیکل 3-4 مہینے پہلے آپ کو بتایا تھا کہ البانی کے تعلق سے میں نے ریسرچ کی. ایک اسٹوڈنٹ، مسلم اسٹوڈنٹ، ماسٹرز ڈگری اسلامیات میں کر رہے ہیں، اس کو حجاب کا عنوان دیا. ڈیفرینشیٹ بٹوین دی فیس ویل and that of hijab by saying that nowhere in Quran it says cover the face. بہت mischievous statement ہے.
ہاں، اس میں اتنا یاد رکھنا چاہیے، قرآن شریف نے یہ جو حجاب کا حکم دیا ہے نا، اس میں اولڈ لیڈیز، Quran has given some flexibility for the old ladies. In the 18th Sipara Surah Nur, Allah says, وَالْقَوَائِدُ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ اللَّاتِي لَا يَرْجُونَ نِكَاحًا فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِنَّ جُنَاحٌ أَن يَضَعْنَ ثِيَابَهُنَّ غَيْرَ مُتَبَرِّجَاتٍ بِزِينَةٍ. Such elderly women who have no prospect of marriage, there is no blame upon them if they lay aside their outer garment, provided they do not attempt a displaying of their beauty. Even the old ladies should not attempt to display their beauty. If that is the case, then it is allowed for them if they leave aside their outer garment. Outer garment, the jilbab, which they cover their body. Now, there are some rules regarding the hijab and jilbab as well. When we say it should not be tied, it should not be revealing, it should not be flashy, we should remember over here that this black niqab which the ladies wear, it's not a requirement of Deen Islam. The requirement is just to cover the body. Whether it is black or green or blue or maroon, whichever color, it doesn't matter. As long as it's not attractive and appealing and it's not revealing for the body. Sometimes we have seen in our town ladies from Sudan. They cover their bodies. Even their face is open, their body is covered with burqa, like which our ladies wear in namaz, salat, from head to maybe below their nails, and their body is all covered with that one piece of cloth, and you can't even see the shape of the body, not even her breast, not buttocks, not anything, and she is covered in such a beautiful way. So this is the way in which our ladies should be covering their bodies. And this black hijab and tight the clothings and revealing clothings of flashy flowers and diamonds and everything on there, which makes it look more attractive, that should also be avoided by our ladies. And these are some instructions with regards to hijab given over here.
One last point. کینیڈا اور امریکہ کا اکثر دورہ ہوتا ہے، وہاں جو بچیاں کالج وغیرہ میں حجاب کے نام سے جو اوڑھنی کی جیسا سر پہ پہن لیتے ہیں، پورے بال بھی کور، فیس بھی کور، بٹ دے کال دیٹ حجاب. حجاب کا مذاق ہے. استغفر اللہ.
صحیح ہے، حجاب کا مذاق ہو رہا ہے. صحیح ہے. تو یہ مطلب یہ کہ اس سلسلے میں کچھ قرآن شریف کی ہدایت ہیں، احادیث میں اللہ کے پاک پیغمبر صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے جو کہا ہے وہ مذکور ہے. جی،
ہمارے پروفیشن میں نا ایک ہی مطلب ٹیچر کہنے ختم ہو گئی تو ویری ویسٹرنائز. تو مجھے پھر کسی نے بتایا کہ اس کی جو فیملی ہے اس میں دیندار باقاعدہ حجاب پہنتی تھی. تو پھر پتہ یہ چلا کہ اٹ واز فورسڈ. دل خود دل مان لیا، جب تک دل میں نہ ہو وہاں تک. اس کا کیا مشورہ دیتے ہیں نا کہ ایسے گھرانے کسی کو فورس نہ کرو. ہم دیکھیں نا کسی کو فورس نہ کرو، جو پہننا ہے شوق سے پہنے، نہ پہنے ہوئے کیا کریں، کسی کو مجبور تو کرنے، خاص طور پر اس ملک میں کچھ کر ہی نہیں سکتے. ہاں، اکبر الہ آبادی کا شعر سنا دو، بے پردہ جو نظر پڑی کل چند بیبیاں، اکبر غیرت قومی سے زمین میں گر گیا، پوچھا جو ان سے وہ آپ کا پردہ کیا ہوا، بولی کہ عقلوں پہ مردوں کی پڑ گیا. تو ہدایت تو دینی چاہیے اور سمجھانا چاہیے، بٹھانا چاہیے اور سمجھا دیں، باقی مجبور ایک خامند ہے، ایک بھائی ہے، بالکل کہنا ہے، بالکل کہنا تو چاہیے کہ بیگم پلیز آپ ایسا نہ کرو، یہ پہنو، سمجھاؤ، نصیحت کرو. نصیحت کرنے سے فائدہ ہوتا ہے. قرآن کہتا ہے وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَىٰ تَنفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. نصیحت کرو، give advice, and the advice will benefit those who have ایمان and belief in their hearts. So فورس نہیں کرنا ہے، ایڈوائس، کاؤنسلنگ ضرور کرنا ہے. نقصان جو ہم کو پہنچاتے ہیں نا یہی ہوتے ہیں لوگ، یہ چیز جن پہ فورس بھیجا کے وہ پروپیگنڈا کرتے ہیں اپنا.
صحیح ہے. میرے پاس ای میل آیا تھا، میرے ایک دوست
پہلے بھی ایشو چلا تھا حجاب کا. تو ہمارے اسکول میں جو کچھ تھی عورتیں اپنی مسلمان جو حجاب نہیں پہنتی تھی، انہوں نے جسٹ ٹو میک اے پوائنٹ شروع کر دیا تھا کہ ہم تو پہنیں گے. मतलब आते भी हैं मतलब
सही है. वो हमारे यहाँ वुडहे स्कूल है ये, तो इसमें ये लास्ट ईयर हेडमास्टर जो है वो रूल लाया था कि लड़कियां मिनी स्कर्ट्स नहीं पहन सकती, दे हैव टू वेयर ट्राउजर्स. इट वाज द फर्स्ट स्कूल इन ब्रिटेन टू इंट्रोड्यूस कंपल्सरी ट्राउजर्स फॉर गर्ल्स. मेरे ख्याल में 1 साल के लिए ऑर्डर रहा, बट आई थिंक ही लॉस्ट, ही कुडंट टेक इट एनी मोर, तो फिर वो दोबारा शुरू हो गया इस साल. बट ये लोग भी जानते हैं कि भाई इसमें कितना नुकसान है इसके अंदर और न्यूडिटी के अंदर. इनको आना पड़ेगा, एक न एक दिन मानना पड़ेगा, नाक रगड़ के मानना पड़ेगा.
इस मुल्क में जैसा आप तो पहले नहीं है यहाँ थे, मैं बता रहा हूँ, जब मैं पढ़ता था तो मेरा हॉस्टल था नेक्स्ट टू नाइट्स ब्रिज, पाकिस्तान स्टूडेंट हॉस्टल. ठीक है, सुबह शाम में निकलता, मैंने कभी किसी औरत को बगैर इसके नहीं देखा.
अच्छा,
जाली की नकाब होती थी और यहाँ तक के दस्ताने होते थे. स्कर्ट उनकी थी, they used to come almost up to there, but the ankles were covered with white socks. Never ever I saw anybody. काले रंग की घोड़ा गाड़ी आती थी शाम को, उनको जहाँ भी कल्ब वगैरह में जाती हो उसी में जाते थे, उसी में आते थे. कभी किसी और हर आदमी, आप कोई पुरानी तस्वीर देखें, पुराने किस्म की जो आर्काइव है, कोई आदमी घर से बगैर हैट के नहीं निकलता था, कोई आदमी, नॉट ए सिंगल वन. और औरतें बगैर दस्ताने और बगैर इसके
मुंह पर वो पहने हुए.
मेरी सास जब आती थी पाकिस्तान में, शी ऑलवेज हैड दैट. अब देखें कितना डिक्लाइन,
बहुत पुराने की बात,
कितना डिक्लाइन हो गया.
डिक्लाइन हो गया, और उससे नुकसान हुआ है, फायदा नहीं हुआ.
फायदा कहाँ से हो सकता है,
नुकसान हुआ है. टीनेज प्रेगनेंसीज, अबॉर्शंस और इलिसिट रिलेशनशिप, चाइल्ड मोलेस्टिंग, पीडोफिलिया. और देखे ना वो बच्चियों को वो इंटरनेट के ऊपर, फेसबुक के ऊपर ल्यूर करते हैं और फिर ले जाकर रेप करके कत्ल कर देते हैं. कितने केस हो गए ऐसे.
मेरी दादी ने मुझे, मेरे ख्याल से 8 साल की मेरी उम्र होगी मुश्किल से, यहाँ आओ, इधर आओ, मेरे पास बैठो. उनके जी, बोले एक बात बताएं तुम्हें. उनके जी, बोले एक वक्त ऐसा आएगा कि लोग कपड़े पहनेंगे, नंगे नजर आएंगे. मैंने सोचा ये कहीं, ये वो सारा टाइम जहाँ से बैठी किताबें पढ़ती रहती थी, पढ़ के मुझे बुला के सुनाती थी, बताने की उस जमाने में इतनी समझ तो नहीं थी ना. मैं कहता था ये सख्या आ गई है, इनके क्या बता रही है, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है. अब देखते हैं अपनी आंखों से.
अब पाकिस्तान जाए ना, मतलब कि जो अमीर तरीन है, मॉडर्न है, तो गर्मियों में ट्रेंड है वो सी थ्रू
कॉटन.
हाँ, बिल्कुल लाइट. तो औरतें फिर रही हैं पास में, तो साफ नजर आ रहा होता है, तो उनके पीछे फिर होता है पूरा मजमा लड़कों का, आजू आजू आजू.
आपकी बात आई ना मिनी स्कर्ट की, 60s में जब ये शुरू हुई थी, मैं उस जमाने में पढ़ता था यहाँ, तो किसी आदमी ने बेहूदगी की थी किसी लड़की के साथ. बसों में चढ़ती है ना ऊपर नीचे से, सेकंड डबल स्टोरी की बस होती थी लंदन में सारी. तो व्हाट यू नो व्हाट दे जस्ट सेड टू हिम व्हेन ही वाज, you deserve to be molested.